Okay guys, this is Cruzroy with the CP, the Master CP from Walkera. There's been some talk. I probably said something wrong, but as for Walkera, I've had 3 or 4 of them, and if you watch some of my YouTube videos, I could never get them things off the ground. But the new technology with their receiver, with the built-in fly wireless, they're pretty stable for the average Joe. I've been flying now for almost 2 years. I'm not that great still. I'm into nitros. What happens is I keep moving on to bigger birds and just don't get settled with one. So I like building them, and then I'll sell them and build them and sell them and build them and sell them, and that's pretty much what I do. I never take enough practicing until I find the one that I'm really happy with. But just a tip on the Master CP. I've seen people sell these on eBay because they can't get it to link right. Once you get it, if it's bought and purchased together with a radio, 90% of the times they set it up for you at the factory. The setup's all wrong. If you want to do 3D right off the bat, you're going to crash this thing 1,000,000 times. I got a nick in my tail from it. I just replaced the gear, you know, and blew up all the servos. They're cheap. The one hit you do, it'll strip all 3. So I got the metal gear servos now. I just put a new gear in. I haven't replaced the tail because she's still straight. She just got a bing in it. And I got new blades, but it's just a little nick here to deal with. I see these things on eBay selling because somebody can't, they say it doesn't bind to the radio. The biggest trick that I never hear anybody say, but it's actually the truth with these Walkeras, the minute you turn on the radio's on, plug in this battery. As soon as you see that dimension thing scooting around, plug that battery in. It's got a fail-safe. The thing ain't just going to take off. Even though I got the motor and tail motor disconnected, it's not going to take off on you or anything, and that's how it binds. And all of a sudden you'll hear the fly ballast go, and there you go. You know, if you turn on the radio and let it sit there for 2 hours and then you plug the battery in, it ain't going to bind. After you bound it the first time, the next battery you put in, it will bind without doing that. But I usually shut off my radio anyways to let the motor cool down, because these are like the cheapest motors Walkera makes. They're pretty good though. This one's been running for a while. It's overpowered for this little guy. That's what makes it heavy. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, people have been asking me, how do I get it to fly so soft? This thing is a nut when you get it out of the bag, and if you're not a pro flyer, like I'm not anyways, but if you notice, my stick's all the way down and the servos are level. What I did is at mid-stick, look at this if you can see it, at mid-stick, I popped these up a tooth. Instead of them being down a tooth, I unscrewed all the servo horns at mid-stick, when they were all at mid-stick, and I popped them up 1 tooth on the gear, not the gear, but the servo horn, 1 tooth up. So when I drop it down, all right, it's almost mid-stick. It's just a little bit below. So when I goose this to fly, it's a little bit softer feel. It doesn't feel like it wants to, you know, come right back to the, because a lot of people, you get scared. You drop that stick. You drop the stick on mine, she's going to float down. Where if you drop the stick, when you set it at mid-stick, this thing's going to crash into the ground, and it might even dig itself down. I get scared still. I drop the stick. She comes down a little bit lighter. Where on a gas or a nitro now, I've been learning auto rotations. You hit the switch, shut the motor off, you auto rotate in. Not really good at it. I still crash. But just to make this a more novice playing unit, I use all the settings that come in the Master CP book. This is the 7E. All the settings are the same. All I did was at mid-stick, all these were level. I pushed them up 1 tooth. So there's more pitch on the end. I did add Expo to slow her down and make her more stable so she's not so flippy-floppy. So I got Expo on it. I put the tail at 120 to give me a little bit more spin, you know, because this thing right out of the box, it doesn't pyro very fast. It's like really slow. So if you adjust your gain on your tail, not the gyro, but the extent, she'll pyro really fast. All right, so like I said, it's bound, it's off right now, but I'm going to unplug it so I can plug the motor and stuff back in, and I'll show you how she flies, and hopefully you can see all this because I was sitting here close. The other thing, someone's been asking me about these ends. They're not a special Walkera banana clip. These are 3.5s. You know, they got 3s and they got 3.4s. There's a 3.5. I bought a whole package of them. I bought these Rhino 1050s from Hobby King. They last way longer than these. This is like a 6-minute battery. These are like 8. And you have to, they come with ends from Hobby King, unfortunately, so you cut them off and you throw them away and you carefully solder the new ones on. And I got a couple of Hobby Kings. The battery I got from Walkera, the black one, if anybody has them, they're a piece of beep. You know, it flew like twice and it won't take a charge anymore. So again, let me shut my radio off. It's going to save the settings. Like I said, my settings on my radio are pretty much out of the book, except for expos. I slowed the unit down. On the receiver, everything is at 50%. I could probably make it more stable by cranking it, but I left everything at 50%. All 3 of them are at 50%. So if anybody asks, all 50%. I just changed the teeth from mid-stick. I changed the tooth. I pushed the pitch up a lot higher. You can also change your throttle curve and all that, but I'm pretty much stock. It just flies a little softer, you know, because this thing is crazy right out of the box. I crashed it a couple of times already. And people are getting the wrong idea from me. I did hate Walkera. I had a U-fly, man. Oh God, what a piece of, you know, that was. I can never get it to fly. And if you watch my old videos, the picnic table must have ate it about 12,000 times and never got off the ground. Then they came out with a U-fly S, which supposedly had that fly-barless system in it. I don't know how great that was, but these new little fly-barless helicopters that Walkera is coming out with, I could imagine the big 400 they got, which is a basic. These things are fairly simple. You know, they went from complex Walkera to simple, and I think that's where they screwed up. You know, I just changed the gear today. People asked how to change it. I should have did a video of doing it, but just take the 4 screws out of the skids, leave this all together. It'll pull apart, and then you unscrew the screw as much as you can, grab it with needle nose, pull it out, and you just push on the center pin. It pops right out. It's real simple to do. I didn't even have to disconnect the washer or anything, the main gear, but you cannot get the main gear out if you get all this in the way. You take the skids right out of the way, you can push them, you just unfold them right out of the way with the 4 screws and good to go. All right, getting back to the binding issue. Turn the radio on. You see, it's just on. Plug the battery in instantly. It doesn't work like everybody else's receiver. The thing doesn't want to bind. If I turn the radio on and it sat on and I walked out here with the helicopter and I went to plug in the battery, it would not bind. It'll just sit there and look stupid. I don't know why. It just happens with some Walkeras. Just give it a try. If it works, if yours is binding the proper way, that's fine. Mine wasn't. All right. But you're getting the wrong idea from me. This is a new gear, so maybe I'll crash it for you right now. That's what I needed to say too. That main gear, they tell you, you know, because of the coarser teeth and stuff, that it's a lot better gear and it takes a lot more hits. But it's untrue. The minute you hit grass with the blades, like she tips over, that gear strips right out. The motor is powerful enough to strip those gears. So I haven't done any. You know, the tail itself, I had to pull it all apart to just to change this piece here. It got broken on the last hit. I had to tear the motor apart and everything and get it out of here just to do that. Now I got a little ding in my tail, so I'm just going to wait till it gets worse. But if people get the wrong idea from me, I kind of like this bird. It's kind of little, but see, it takes off soft. And I'll show you in a minute. It's not really windy right now. I want to see if I can get the sticks in here. But normally if you hit down stick, it would fly down. But mine doesn't, you know. I mean, they're pretty stable little guys. They're not meant to fly by themselves. But with the pitch raised, if I up throttle, I'm getting a slow up drift. It's not going mad. I wouldn't try to do 3D with this setup because it's not going to work, you know. But the pyro rate has to do with your travel adjustment. So I have it at 120. But as it goes for the sticks, you know, I tame this down with expos, because if I did a pyro and it kind of startled me with the wind, now all of a sudden it's getting windy, the thing would go out of control, because the blade diameter on this and everything is so small that it just flip-flops all over the place, and I'm not into that high speed, so I kind of went out of control and dropped it on the ground. But it's getting a little windy right now, but not bad. Like I said, all my receiver is set at 50%. I could set it a little more and it would fight the wind a little better, but you start getting twitches and stuff, so this way is kind of good. But let me do a pyro. See, that's at 120 at my travel adjust. Supposedly that's what helps it spin a little bit better, is the 120 on the travel. But that's how I have my servos set. The radio settings are right out of the book, except for I put a lot of Expo and DRs. Right, I don't have to use the switch. It's already set that way to tame it. If you have one of these and you do this, the thing's all over the place. But see, I can wiggle my sticks and it doesn't go insane. It's a little bit slow, and that has to do with the Expos. The travel in the Expo will do this, you know, which if I went out of control, the thing would go nuts, and then I'd crash. But you know when your gear's gone, because you'll hear this specific whining noise that a few of your teeth, it still works. The broken gear I had still worked. It just, but you know, that ain't bad. I'm getting a little tip back from the wind here, but like I said, they're not meant to be stable enough like a Fly Mentor or something, but it is pretty good for the novice. I just think 3D flight for a guy out of the box is insane. It's just, this thing is insane because it's so small, you know. And if you're 100 years old like I am, it's a real pain in the butt to fly it around. I mean, this yacht is small for circuit flying, and people have seen my nitro in here, but I just kind of putt around. I just enjoy that. I enjoy fixing them, putting them together, and flying them. But I gotta say, this little guy, let me tip the swash a little bit. What I noticed is when you start to trim it out, the trim on the 7E is a little bit, it's like only going a minute distance at a time. You know, it doesn't travel that much like you would think on your regular radios. I mean, I almost went 100% on the trim to go forward, and it's still just hanging there. Now I'm getting a little left flight there. Thing I don't like about walkera's radios, you got to tap that trim twice, but just playing with the trim, seeing if I can get her to stay. Get her to sit a little stable in the wind here. But I'm still just a simple flyer. I just enjoy hanging out in the backyard and hovering around. So I've seen guys catch these, but I'll tell you what, I've been whacked by those plastic carbon fiber sleeve blades, and they hurt. This thing is spinning at a pretty good RPM, so I used to catch my little V911 in my hands, but not this baby. But alrighty guys, I'm gonna go back to flying this. I got 2 batteries, and I just wanted to show you my settings. Hopefully that helps somebody out, but that's the way I fly, slow and easy, which they call circuit flying, I guess. 3D flying, I'm not ready for that yet. I got some big nitros that could really tear up the skies, but I'm just a circuit flyer, and I like this little guy for when I just want to play with batteries, but I do enjoy the nitro better. My dream is a gasser, but for now, I keep on keeping on. Hey, this is Cruzroy, and I'm out of here. This is the Master CP with the Stevo 7E. And good luck to all you flying in there, and keep the skid side down. Thank you.